you see a lot of young children, and then they just disappear off the radar. And then what I have seen in my own practice and my own PCN is that we seem to have a group of patients who are sort of 20s, 30s, 40s, presenting with multiple issues, almost invariably with the mental health background, quite often just really medicalizing, as you say, poverty, dysfunctional lifestyle, um, and often presenting across multiple types of the services. And it doesn't feel like we're meeting their needs. And when you look back, it's almost universal that the beginning of the problems would start in childhood. And again, we know from the feedback from schools and from the children that do present to us is that schools are really struggling with mental health pandemic, and they're struggling to access support. Children, young people aren't necessarily presenting to seek support, and when they do, it's very difficult to get it. The threshold for the tertiary referral, the secondary care CAM services is extremely high, and there doesn't seem to be much in between. So that prompted me to identify it as a population health need for a primary care network, also based on demographics data. We knew that we have younger than average population with particular bulge in sort of secondary school age and universities. And we also know that we have a spike in my PCN of high intensity users, which based on what I've said to you just now, probably not surprising that they're not your old and frail. They tend to be the younger ones in their 20s and 30s, and that particularly was exacerbated by the pandemic. So the group that had the most increase in attendance was actually the people in their 20s and 30s. So that was all kind of in my thought process before the pandemic, and then when the pandemic started, as a parent, two young children, I realized from a personal experience just how hard it was to juggle work and homeschooling and the pressure it's put on my family. And I thought, well, if this is putting this much pressure on my family, how are the families coping who are already under strain, who might be already struggling with some background mental health issues, or struggling with life in general. So that very quickly prompted me to look at, well, what was within my sort of control as a clinical director. And we do have access to additional roles reimbursement scheme. So we decided to recruit social prescriber link workers who would specifically work with children and young people. At that point, it was quite an innovative role. There was only one other PCN in the county that has done it just a few months before us. And we've pretty much established the role as a gold standard. So we've had national teams come in to review our role set up as a gold standard of collaborative working between the practices, the voluntary sector, and critically the schools. So one of the things we developed as part of the role quite early on is actually going out and getting to know the school heads, special educational need teachers, and support the children, young people smoothly between educational needs and health needs, but also pick up children that are known to schools but not necessarily known to us. We then also wanted to try to work upstream and not wait for these children to come to us with a mental health crisis. And we know that they often will turn up in A&E as a first time presentation of mental health, or since the pandemic, we know there's been a massive increase in eating disorders, particularly A&E presentations with new disorder crisis. So we wanted to get upstream and identify children who might be at risk, who are not currently known to primary care and not on the radar of any statutory services.